We are so happy to be here and to welcome Betsy, who's joining us live.
Welcome, Betsy.
And we know that there are a number of people who wrote in this time when we were announcing, saying that they'd be watching on the video once it's put up there in the Creative Arts group. So thank you all for your interest.
We're so happy to have you here. We really are.
Yeah, very, very much.
It's fun to create together, Nanette and I, but it's way more fun knowing that you're joining us and creating from whatever space is comfortable for you at a time where you normally wouldn't be creating. So that's the whole point, is we create an environment for you to be creative and to be productive in our little way. And
to make it easy and fun and light and not require a lot of setup or a lot of worry about it. So
the big setup is here. So it looks like we have a lot of supplies, and we do even off camera. However, these are just samples for you and examples. We'll be showing you an example of our project today that's simply done on notebook paper. Yes. Very easy, a pen and paper, pencil if you don't have a pen, and you create a really nice, exciting project for yourself.
And one of the things that I wanted to remind everybody too, I know it came up in a couple of the email conversations that I've had, is that we are going to try to demonstrate, Gail doing the demonstration with the formal art materials and me doing the demonstration with the things that I find in my recycle bin or my junk drawer or whatever might be available as best we can. So the intention of this is for you not to have to go out and buy a lot of supplies, not to have to feel like you have to know what the art catalog descriptions mean. And
we're all different levels here. There's very beginner who haven't created since kindergarten.
Right.
And there are others who, you know, played a little bit with crafts. And others who do this formally every day. So all different levels, there's no comparisons. Everybody just stay where you are and enjoy the ride. It's a journey for all of us, really it is.
So let's get started.
So we usually begin with a ritual. Nanette and I really believe it's important to begin with ritual. We talked about it in last week's class. Very often we have music in the background. We begin by lighting a candle. And I think that's how we'll start right now.
Yeah.
Nice breaths.
Yes.
With the candle. The candle's breathing and we're breathing. Oh, last time the candle had past, present, and future. I think we have a lot of present and future.
Yes.
Present and future.
Yeah.
And I'd like to begin today by, you would like to take breaths first?
Yeah.
Just to start, bring ourselves into this lovely space. I have some dried flowers here. A reminder of nature and the beauty that we have inside ourselves and outside on this beautiful Florida day. Cool air. Some people are in a snowstorm today. I know in Canada, there's a snowstorm today.
I saw pictures yesterday from Europe. It was Rotterdam.
Pretty.
Yeah. So wherever you are, let's just take a couple of deep breaths and center in.
So 3 breaths in and out. And out. And one last breath, inhale all the beauty that's within you and around you. And let go of anything that doesn't serve you today.
Always feels so good.
It does. We forget to breathe. Even though it's a natural thing,
yes,
it's a nice reminder to be centered.
Yeah. And today's theme is going to be the KindHERGarden. So we wanted to start with a poem that Gail found. That is a Mary Oliver poem.
Mary Oliver does has beautiful poems, one of which is a favorite of mine, because when I'm not creating and I'm not centered, I tend to worry a little bit. I don't know about you, but I tend to worry about things. So this poem is called I Worried. And I posted it on the Creative Hearths group, and you're welcome to read that several times, even after we go through this. But I'm going to read it now. I'll read it slowly, and we'll talk about it and ask some questions after.
Yeah.
So this is it. I Worried by Mary Oliver. I worried a lot. Will the garden grow? Will the rivers flow in the right direction? Will the earth turn as it was taught? And if not, how shall I correct it? Was I right? Was I wrong? Will I be forgiven? Can I do better? Will I ever be able to sing? Even the sparrows can do it, and I am, well, hopeless. Is my eyesight fading, or am I just imagining it? Am I going to get rheumatism, lockjaw, dementia? Finally, I saw that worrying had come to nothing and gave it up and took my old body and went out into the morning and sang.
Into the garden.
Yes, like no one was watching, as if no one was watching. And I danced as well.
Yeah.
So that's our poem. And if you have a piece of paper nearby and a pen to write down some notes, Nanette and I had some questions for you to ask yourselves, some self-reflection for your project. You ready for that?
Yes. Yes.
So maybe just jot down a couple of words or sentences, whatever, some scribbles. First question would be, what do you worry about, feel anxious about, fear, or doubt? Whether it's about yourself or those around you, or the possibility of the future. Just let's write a few words down. I'm going to write down a few for myself. Here's that paper for you. Sorry. If you don't have a journal, any piece of paper will do. If you're using a canvas or a piece of watercolor paper, you're even welcome to draw right on there. So what do you worry about, feel anxious about, fear, or doubt? This is just for yourself, so don't worry about being neat or organized. What words describe the way you would hope to feel if you awaken tomorrow and all was as you would like it to be? Are you able to hear that out there in TV land?
Yes.
Great, beautiful. So what words describe the way you would hope to feel if you awaken tomorrow and all was as you would like it to be? So if a dream came true, or a miracle happened, or life just fell into place the way you wanted, what would your day look like? Take your time.
Now I brought out a canvas just in case any of you have canvases available. You could be writing your words right on the canvas if you chose to do so.
Okay, so maybe you'd like to do that on this one. All right. What would you think would lead you to self-nurturing, a sense of power? So I didn't mean power, but maybe subconsciously I did. Let's try that again. What would you think would lead you to self-nurturing, a sense of purpose, passion? What would you think would lead you to that? What would you need to do to get to that place? It could be one thing, it could be several things. It could be you don't know. And you could just write down, I don't know. Oh, I just thought of one that I never would have thought of without this question. What would you let go of? What would you let go of? And what do you think you would discover if you let go? So KindHERGarden, Nanette and I we've been talking about this for several years actually, and this is one of the themes. And it was back to kindergarten. And would you like to talk about play in kindergarten and how that relates to where we are right now?
So tying this all together, this idea that when we worry too much, we need a place to go release, we need a place to reconnect. The garden, for many of us, nature, whether it's a formal garden that you have or it's just a walk outside on the grass.
Or an art room.
Or an art room that is a garden you've created, absolutely. That place is a place where we can go to release. And yet still, those of us who've begun to practice creating in some way, we carry with us all of these restrictions about what that's supposed to look like. And sometimes when we get started, it actually gets worse than better because now we're doubting. First create something, the next thing has to be better than
we have
that.
Expectations,
yes.
High expectations of ourselves.
Exactly.
But in kindergarten, do you think we had expectations of ourselves?
And so that's where the idea of play comes in, to remember that we were little children when we were
on the playground.
On the playground, in the park.
Oh, I do this. I did the last week. Wait, just one. I have to do this.
Woo, bubbles!
Okay. This is midlife.
Yeah,
midlife, and it's
midlife
fun.
play.
And I'm having the best time I ever had in my life.
Yeah.
Because I'm remembering as much as I can when I'm not worrying to play.
Yeah, yeah. So for our project today, we want to be sure to infuse that energy. You've taken some time to reflect, and some interesting things have probably come forward. So let's take a minute. If any of you, Betsy, if you'd like to share anything, were you surprised? You don't have to share a specific. Did anything come to mind? Wouldn't have come to mind otherwise.
Well, at first I put no fear, little fear, and then I wrote, I release any fearful thoughts that come my way, knowing that the amount of time I've invested in worry has never changed the outcome. Then you asked if we could have anything, and it brought up my daughter, of course, and I would feel wonderful. There would be no more tears. I would dance with her again. It would release the hurt, the pain, the grief. I don't know how it would happen. But I would feel her when I could release that. I would feel her spiritual presence more. It's funny because I'm going to put myself on the video. I did this painting this little tiny painting of an angel a while back. And when I finished it, I put a film over it so that it was a film of like off-white and glitter, because she's in the shadows. Anyway, I've been doing a little bit of that in this, and you know.
Well, I don't know your story, Betsy, but it sounds like there's some sadness there. And in that piece of art, you were able to cover the sadness with a little bit of glitter and joy, just a little bit, sprinkles of it.
It's only been, and it's funny because when I was doing this, I looked up, and I have rubber stamps all over my studio, and her name is Caroline, and her stamp, which I had given to her before she passed, you know, when she was stamping, and then after she was killed and we went through her things, she had a little craft box, and I got my stamp back. But it sits up here, and it was like, okay, thank you.
Meant to be.
It's been a little over a year since she was killed by a drunk driver, and
I'm sorry to hear that.
Thank you.
Very sad.
I was lucky. I did take a painting class. It was de-stress. It was just like what do you call it when you just go in there and you just paint? Intuitive. Yeah, but it was more releasing feelings and things. And it was really helpful. And I never considered myself a painter before, but I like to play with paint. So
we're going to today as the options is actually just release with color and play as if no one's watching.
Yeah.
And
that's a great.
Just enjoy yourself. Enjoy yourself. If it comes of it, emotions it does, and if it doesn't, then just enjoy the process. It's all about the process.
Yeah. So let's go ahead.
And I know others out there will appreciate the fact that you're sharing those deep, heartfelt emotions.
Yeah.
And the expressive quality, the ability for you to express that through art making. And that is exactly why we're here.
Yeah.
That's exactly why we're here. There are so many people out there. I have a chronic illness and I'm home much of the time, and without art and without the ability to express myself in other ways, besides listening to music,
yeah,
I don't know what I would do. Yeah. So hopefully this will help others who are out there as well. So I think what I just want to say quickly is the meaning of KindHERGarden. We talked about gentle themselves, and the connection between all people, like in nature, where the seeds, the flowers, the trees, the insects, and the weather, we all actually do need one another, not in a codependent way or in a negative sense, but in a generous, kind, gestural way of kindness, where we're providing empathy and compassion. But first and foremost, for anybody who's listening, we must tend to our own needs and our desires. Back to that Eat, Pray, Love, famous movie and book. Music, rest, read, explore, and do what feels best for you today. So just enjoy. There's no right or wrong. We're just going to give you some options. I'm actually going to teach a very for all those who say they can't draw a straight line. You're actually going to have the ability to draw a figure in 3 easy steps.
We're going to start with the color first, right?
Okay. So if you have paints or markers, these are all options. Collage, like we did last week. We're going to just start a background. So you're starting off with a blank piece of paper or a cereal box, and just do whatever feels right on there. If you're using paint and you like it to dry quickly, then try to use thin amounts of paint. You can water it water. It's different, some wax paint and spread it on. I'll show you how to do that. If you're collaging, that's okay too. And glue any type of paper. Let me just quickly show the intention for today.
Not sure what happened. Hello.
Now we're unmuted. Better?
Yeah, that's better. Really good.
Okay, good.
But can you see us?
I can see the pictures and you. Yes, very clear.
Okay.
Really, really
How do we
clear.
make us bigger? We're not going to be able to. We're using a new device, so
Yeah,
a second device.
So this is backup plan.
Yeah, because we can't see anything big. We're just
Okay,
very
you know
little.
what we're going to do? I'm going to hold it, and you are going to demonstrate.
Okay, well, we'll start that way. So I was just demonstrating that even with a simple piece of notebook paper, could you see clearly, Betsy?
Yeah.
Okay, so again, it's a figure. It's about releasing, it's about play and letting go. And because we talk about seed the day in our first lesson, and that's a theme that we keep coming back to, we have the seeds that lead to growth. And then she's holding a balloon with light in it and she's letting go. She's holding on to it, but trying to let go.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of like the veiling that we talked about a little bit ago. And we're going to be doing something similar to this in our projects today.
And the idea is to use the words that you have explored in your writing, in your journaling,
Right.
to incorporate those words into whatever design comes forward for you.
Right.
But for those of you who are looking for a little more guidance with the particular type of picture, we wanted to give you that.
Yeah, I have a few examples, and you know what? Maybe I'll just show them quickly.
Yeah.
So.
And then I think we need to get started creating so we get something done in our.
I know. Well, sometimes the conversation is just as good as the art.
Yes, absolutely.
So this is a piece that I created. Again, she's coming out of the earth, whether she's a tree, goddess, muse, whatever it is, or myself. And my words that she's letting go of are here. I used some of these little dried flower petals to glue onto my piece once I did my background. I did a little bit of collage using tissue paper. Here, these were positive words that I thought of that I need to find in order to get to that place of letting go. And then I just collaged words that I found in magazines in and around her. So that's one example. Another one that I did in another class, she's reaching for that star, for that light. Again, just some natural elements in there and collage and words. And Nanette, I think, is going to be creating a woman or a goddess out of tissue paper. This is tissue paper that I've painted. So very simple, and yet tells a story once she'll be in an environment. And this is kind of that play background that we were talking about, that you just make a mess, and then I will show you how to put your figure, or you could even cut a figure out of a magazine and place it, just something maybe like 6 inches. You could place it on your KindHERGarden painting, the one that you had fun with, the one that you played with. So let's get started just putting color on our backgrounds.
Yes.
The other thing is that I was hoping we could do, I don't know if we have time, is we could create a card for ourselves, a note to ourselves, because we want to be kind to ourselves. And you could just cut a piece of cardboard, and while your larger piece is drawing, you could create a card for yourself doing the same process. Creating a background, adding words, adding a figure, and write some notes to yourself inside, messages for you to hold on to and remember after the class is over. Are we okay?
Yeah. So those of you who may not have paints, you can begin your background with the same collaging idea that we did last week.
Okay.
where we simply used glue and paper and layers.
Is that what you're going to be doing?
Yes.
Okay, I'll start with paint on mine.
Yeah. So for now, I'm going to hold the camera so you can see
Oh,
Gail
no.
painting.
Well, we could put it on here. Let's see if we can see. We'll find out if Betsy could see us. It won't be as great, but maybe we can lean it against something. Try it like that.
I'm going to have to hold it there. Yeah. Well, okay, so if you, yeah,
Put something in front of it?
there you go. You're painting there. Yeah, so go ahead and start your painting.
Okay, I'll start by, I have my water and and I'm just going to start very loosely. I mean, I could just add a little paint to my, I'm adding some of my favorite colors over here that are in the warm color family, but no need to worry about that. I have some yellows and yellow ochre, but anything that you have is perfect. So I'm putting a little water on here just to make it watery so it'll dry quickly. And I'm going to create a background very simply.
And you'll notice that messy is
I'm
best.
not thinking. Yeah, I'm not thinking. I am literally, I'm taking my left hand right now, which is my non-dominant hand, and just playing so I don't think too much. I can't make a mistake because I have no plan. I've also taped the edges of this, which isn't necessary, but for those of you who like to have a neat little border to take off the paint later, to take the tape off, you could do that as well.
And this is hardware store painter's tape that you can acquire.
Correct.
In fact, you can probably get it in Walgreens too. If
Correct.
You need to.
So I don't even know why I'm choosing the colors that I'm choosing. That white isn't coming out. Sorry, it's stuck. But I'm going to have them available to me in case I decide to use them. But please don't feel obligated to use any of the colors that I'm using or even paint. You could be collaging right now. And I might collage and paint at the same time. But the paint will be a little easier to start with for people to understand how this works. So again, just I could use my left hand. I could switch to my right hand. If you'd like to shut the volume button off and play music in the background, that even might be fun. And you could just create with us while your music is playing. Magazine here that has gorgeous colors in it. And it's just colors in the clothing or on a stairway. I'm going to tear some of these out later once my collage is dry, my paint is dry. And I'll be adding this to my card collage. I'm going to just tear it out. All I'm using here is the print. So I'm just going to be tearing that as if I have no tissue paper and only have my magazine to work with. So very simple, creative ideas for you to give a try. And I think I'm going to add a little bit of tissue paper to this while it's drying. I might even take a towel and just dab it so I get some interesting little marks on here, and I'll have more space and time to add glue with collage. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to be working quickly. You do not need to be working as quickly as I am. I'm doing this just to get to the next step. So let's see, last week we didn't throw out any of our tissue paper. We saved it all so that we have pretty things to work with, to add, and to play with. I have napkins. I have dinner napkins, cocktail napkins, bathroom napkins, and they're really fun to use and very colorful and very easy to glue because they're so thin. And just a reminder, I think I showed this last week, but These napkins are 2-ply, so they're actually, they separate. So feel free to open up your napkins and take the color out, and you could throw the tissue away, or you could use it as veils later on in your picture, so you could save it. I might try that.
Yes. Yeah, every scrap is usable in collage. Every
Scrap. And what you would think is not a scrap,
right,
is very often very usable. User friendly. I have some glue here, which is a little stuck, so I'm gonna have to bang it a little bit. If you have decoupage glue, that's fine. I'm just trying to use a thinner glue.
and that
which isn't so thin.
Is that the Liquitex?
This is a Liquitex glue, but to tell you the honest truth, it's so old that I'm having trouble getting it out of the jar. So I'm gonna give it a try. Normally, I love using this because it's very easy to apply and it dries quickly. So let's see. I'm going to put a little bit of glue on the painting. And then I'm going to apply some tissue paper just randomly. I wasn't thinking about where I'm putting it really. And yes, my paint is a little bit wet behind, but this kind of glue will work fine. They're all water-based, these glues. I believe the decoupage glue is as well. So I just glued that on. And I might add a little more.
And again, this is child's play.
Right.
Rip, tear, don't pay attention to the edges. Don't worry about.
No, in fact, you know what? I'm not using scissors, but I'm going to tear my edge. I don't know if you could see that.
Yeah.
I'm literally tearing it with my fingernail because I find it much prettier when it's just a mess. And
yeah, and I
love
that the napkins tear so easily, and you tore that right on the canvas.
Yeah, it tore very easily.
So now, even though you guys can't see me creating on the back of the cereal box, I would be doing the same things that Gail is doing on the canvas.
I'm gonna wash my hands and turn around and let you start yours. Would you like to do that?
Sure, if you'd like.
Hold on.
In the meantime,
if you have baby wipes, you could use baby wipes to clean your hands. But
yes, that is definitely a pro tip.
Try to take
a tip I learned. That's a tip I learned from Gail, and that is a pro tip.
Yeah. So the figure we're going to be drawing will be, I don't know if you could see this, but I just tore this out of a magazine. So if you don't want to draw today, then you're welcome to just add a piece of a magazine figure and you're going to paint over that. You don't have to see her face after, whoever she is, or her clothing, because we're going to add our own. Well, I might just start a collage on a card.
And I'm thinking, in the interest of time, it might be, and the fact that we have our little technical challenge here with me holding the camera, maybe this is a good time for you to illustrate how to do the figure.
Okay, sure. So this was a sample figure. Ned and I created this a few weeks ago. I don't know if you could see it.
Oh, yes, they can. Perfect.
And Nanette created her figure in 3 easy steps, which I'm going to show you right now. Yeah. So I think I'm going to try to put a figure on here.
CC, no.
So I want to make sure that you could see. Are you able to see, Betsy?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to try to do this so my hand's not in the way. I'm going to draw a head, which is, this isn't a great marker for this, but okay. I won't make her head too big because then she'll take up way too much space, but any figure, any size is great. So we have a head,
which is simply a circle.
Step 1. A neck. Then we have a shoulder on each side to attach to that. and an arm. And my figure is going to have a nice little bit of a waist and big, strong hips to keep her grounded. So if anybody didn't get that, I'm going to do another one next to her. So we'll have Nanette and I next to each other. We have a head. Maybe I'm going to make this head on an angle. This marker is not happy that the paint is wet. I don't know if you could see.
There you go.
And I have another neck and shoulders. And shoulders, big shoulders. We have to carry a lot of responsibility. A waist, so I'm just cutting it in. And a pretty little dress type of thing. Now, the arms could either be by her side or your side, or they could be in celebration of letting go. So what I'm going to do is I'm just simply going to add these arms going up, just coming up from just below the shoulder. I made a line and another one. It's hard to see because it's on the collage. I'll do it on this side. She has an arm going up and another one, another part of her arm going up. And a hand could be as simple as something as just a rectangle or whatever shape.
Almost looks like
with a little thumb, like a mitt,
yeah.
a little mitten. So here, I don't know if you could see it. It's not going to come out because I'm still too wet, but I'm doing the same thing on the other side. And this young lady here is going to have an arm coming from this shoulder, going down. She's opening her arms and opening her hands to accept whatever comes her way. And her other hand, perhaps, will be going up and letting go. If this looks complicated, it's only because there's two figures and her arm now is coming out of her neck. So this happens to all of us, and that could be fixed with paint if you'd like to, but the whole point is to make her hand letting go.
Beautiful.
So we'll figure that out later when I could just paint around it and have whatever. But the whole point is that these figures are really easy to do.
So let's go over.
I'm going to go over it one more time.
One more time so people can see it.
Let's take it out of that environment because let's make it really simple. If this marker is still working, I have an oval shape for the head. I have a neck. The neck could be shorter. It doesn't have to be this long. Shoulder, shoulder, going into the waist, going into the waist. If you want to put breasts on her, you're welcome to do that. And then just flaring out into that shape. That could be a dress or pants if you want to split it in the middle. And the arms simply coming out of her shoulder, hands, anything that you want. We know that it's a hand. It doesn't matter what it looks like. And you don't even have to have a hand, but I'm adding hands. Is that easy to watch? To follow?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
So there's no right or wrong. It's simply just a figure doing whatever. If you want to add hair or you want to add tissue paper to make hair, which is what I did in the other collage. If you want to do a hairstyle or a crown or whatever it is. If you want to add eyes, just don't put the eyes too high on the head. You'll be happier with it. A little nose. You could even make a little heart for a mouth, and you have a figure. And you could dress her up with tissue paper or anything that you want after that. So Nanette, would you like to start yours?
I don't know how we're going to achieve that, but let's give it a try. So I'm starting with.
Are you doing a card?
I'm going to do
the card to yourself.
You know what? Yes, I can do the card to myself, and I can do it on the same cardboard that is the backing of the cereal box. I was going to use this for a collage design also, so either one, right? So here we are. And the simple, the simple way to start.
Simple way to start is not keep your tissue paper next to your candle.
I'm going to use the Mod Podge glue. We did this last week. We started with just a bunch of glue on the page. I'm going to do it very
There's
quickly.
a paintbrush. Here, you could use this.
Oh, little too much glue.
Yeah. With the Mod Podge, if the card is still wet, if you're working on the card, you could paint your figure not with a marker or a pen, but with paint.
Yeah.
And I could show you how to do that too. Or you could show them now that you know how.
Well, and the other thing I thought I might demonstrate is the collage picture, the woman that you had there that you pulled out of the magazine.
Oh, to add her.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So one of the options that we looked at is using the tissue paper.
So glue under and glue on top.
And just going to put some of that down like so. And I'm going to grab some more. I'm not, again, this is all play. Oh, we discovered this last week, this beautiful, this was the, oh, let me, now
like a
see,
peacock feather?
Have
the 2-ply and didn't separate it.
I didn't separate it, so now
it's not the end of the world, but
no,
it works much better.
It does work better, and it almost it caught itself that way, so that was kind of fun. And then I'll use the other piece too. Not really giving a whole lot of attention to what's happening here. And notice that
I have a little bit of
I go over the edges. I don't worry about them going right up to the edge typically.
There's some paint on here.
Ah, so to add some paint there
sure, just
too.
to fill up your background. Now, whatever you're putting on as your first layers, don't pick your favorite pieces for your first layers because chances are they're going to get covered up. So pick and choose anything that you first touch, that you first lay your eyes on, and just make it have a nice base for your design that you're going to do in the end.
Let's see. I like the yellow and this together. Can you see me still, guys? Let's hope. And it's okay that I'm choosing to cover up some of this color because it's going to come through. See how the color is coming through?
The tissue paper is so fine.
So you can see there that
if you use glue and tissue, you might get the paint and tissue, you might get a little bit of paint on there, but again, it's just making a background.
Right. And I happen to be a fan of texture, so I'm not worried. Again, I'm a child. I'm not worried that it's not all smooth. I'm playing. I'm having fun and I'm getting my fingers dirty.
Absolutely. I much prefer to use my fingers. And Annette and I discovered the joy of texture last week and how you could embellish your pieces at the end. The bumpier, the better sometimes. So don't be afraid of creases or bumps or tears. They're all good.
And I'm also not worried if I get anything on the other side, because what I would likely do with this is either put a piece up, when I put words, I'll glue the words down, or I could start with the titanium white.
Correct.
And it would cover this completely.
Correct.
For those of you who do any mixed media art journaling, you're probably very familiar with titanium white.
Right, or gesso. There's white gesso, which is less expensive, I believe, but
it gets used
covers
for
everything.
everything that needs to be covered.
Oh, I probably should have put some gesso out here, but.
Oh, and you know what? We didn't put gesso on our list of supplies.
No, we
so
didn't.
We should add that
definitely, definitely. Gesso is basically just something to add to your substrate, your background, that makes it easier to work upon afterwards, especially if you're working on a bumpy surface. It'll even it out, or it'll create some fun texture.
And last week, I also worked with some of these mail envelope types of paper. That was really fun. So I'm kind of looking through here.
I added these petals to mine.
Yeah.
They're a little more difficult to glue down, but I think they'll work fine with the decoupage. Or you could just tear
well, I think what I'll do
tissue
is
paper.
add the petals out. Oh, look at that bright red. That's calling me. And you guys can't see that. There we are. We're gonna get through this.
You know, the videotaping and the Zoom room is play for us too. Yes, and it's not going perfectly, but we're here for you. No matter what we have to do, we'll figure this out.
Well, and you know, when we did our first one yesterday, hey, Betsy, oh, look.
I can't see.
Oh, love it.
Oh, pretty. Are you having fun?
Yes.
Great.
Yay.
Awesome.
This is the background. My favorite colors.
Yes.
Are those words from a tissue paper or where those words?
Those are collage papers. I make gift cards and scrapbook paper. So, and I have bits all over.
Great. Bits and bits and bits. Bits are the best.
Bits.
I think I should have a bumper sticker called Bits are the best.
Oh,
bits are the best.
Yes.
Yes. Now,
Bitsy, you can call me Bitsy Betsy.
Yes, I was about to say. That works.
Yeah, so I'm realizing that I did not follow Gail's instruction. I've put a lot of glue on here.
That's okay. We could save it and go on to mine after.
So I'm not going to be able
But you're going to have a nice background.
Work on this.
If you want to add some more glue.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, just a little more.
This is a collaborative effort.
There we go.
I never use a paintbrush for glue, which is kind of fun.
Yeah. So
I think you might have to
a little
let
bit
dry.
there. I've got a couple places left to cover, just that one.
Now, don't worry if anything's hanging off. You could either pull it over the back of your piece, or when it's dry, you could just cut it off. Or when it's even wet, do you mind if I pull this off?
Go ahead, pull it.
You could pull it off while it's wet.
Yeah.
And just glue your end down.
Comes right off. And you'll
I
notice,
want to use a piece of this.
Oh, there you go. All right.
Oh, this would have made a really pretty dress.
Oh, yes, for your figures. There we go. All right.
I'm sorry we can't show you both of us at once right now, but you will see our pieces.
Nice.
So I'm going to let that sit for a little bit because I used a little more glue than was recommended. But you know what? It's okay. So one of the things that we want to remind everybody is that there are projects that you can do quickly, and that's our intention. So that's the reason for being a little less zealous with the glue and a little using a little more water in your paint so that it gets done relatively quickly.
Right. So this is going to be a card. Right now you're not, this is going to be fantastic. But it is a note to yourself and a card to yourself, unless you're writing a note to somebody else, either as a ritual and not showing to them, or as just something to have for yourself as a reminder of the memory of today. And just quickly, if you're not sure which colors to use, I mentioned last week that just look in your closet or in your scarf drawer and look at the colors that you tend to choose that you enjoy. And somebody already made those choices in colors, and you're welcome to choose what you're going to do in your art pieces based on those colors as well. So if you're not sure where to start, just take a look in your own closet and you will find your favorite colors. And words that I utilized today, and hopefully this is dry enough. What are we letting go of? First, I'm going to write my favorite words down that I know are important. So I'll share one of them, which is health, because I mentioned that I have some health issues. So I need that to get to a better place. And I'll keep adding other words that I know. are important for the worrying to stop just even a wee little bit. And then letting go, I'm going to put on my figure words that I need to let go of. And my big word is, oh, it's supposed to be a secret, but I'm going to tell you that it's stuff. I need to let go of stuff in order to find more possibility. And worry, how about worry? I need to let go of worry and fear. Fear keeps us in a very bad place, just as does worry, which, as we heard before, doesn't necessarily come to much. I think we just make people around us more anxious when we worry. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to dress my figures with some tissue paper. I'm going to add some petals, and maybe we'll just work on our own projects right now for a few minutes. Could we do that?
We sure can.
Okay, let's see where we could put this camera so you get just a tiny picture of what we're doing.
Let's see. There's a hand.
Do we see our workspace?
There's a hand and there's a work. Yeah,
So,
that works.
Let's see. I'm going to tear this pretty bird here. Those birds remind me of flight and freedom. And I think I'm going to add, it doesn't have to be the whole bird, just the idea of a bird, and I could even paint over it. I'm not planning on selling this, so I'm not concerned about using somebody else's art in my work. Somebody did create that bird and worked hard to have a unique painting.
And I just checked in and realized that it's
time
after 1 o'clock.
Oh boy. Okay. Well, we're going to keep creating no matter what. Sorry we had a computer glitch, but I just wanted to add this and just show you quickly on your figures. Do I have a second?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I just wanted to acknowledge
The other people might be
that other
strapped
people
for
may
time.
need to.
Uh-oh, okay.
Oh, here's a
That
part.
might be a happy accident.
Yes.
My white paint just spilt all over my artwork. So I'm going to peel it off with a brush, and it might make some interesting, actually I could see right through it. So I can see my words right through it.
There you go. And that's where, here's the other pro tip. Where's your baby wipes?
Oh, that's right. I could have used baby wipe to take it right off.
But hopefully you
Good
can
point.
see that Gail is just wiping that with paper
I just wiped
towel.
it off
She
with
just
paper
wiped
towel.
it right off.
It
So
comes off very easily.
it is not a crisis
Right.
when
Right. What I'm going to just do quickly, I don't know if, can you see this?
There they can see, yeah.
I'm going to add some white to this figure, to her face. I'm going to color inside the lines, which I'm not very good at, but I'm going to force myself to be disciplined for a few minutes. I'm going to do the shoulders and the face. I could even cover some of the black outline. I didn't need to do it in black. I could have done it in white, but I wanted it to be visible for everybody. So even the arms.
And I actually like I'm a fan of
the
outline.
outlines.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of contrast. Sometimes
Yes.
that's a nice thing. From far, when I go to an art museum, I'm very attracted to that contrast with black outlines.
Yeah.
So everybody's taste is different, and there's no right or wrong, and you're welcome to create several pieces and try out black, white, whatever colors come to mind. I think I'm going to add a little bit of light to this.
Yes.
And then I'm going to add my favorite color. One of my favorites is Payne's Gray by Golden, but I believe other companies make it too. Just add it, a little bit of that all my paints are stuck to the bottom of my painting. So if I add dark to the bottom of my painting, this is just a little trick, but it's not necessarily always true. Your eye is gonna be drawn up towards those figures up on top, because you won't be paying so much attention to what's at the bottom, but you will pay attention to what's going on up there. And I'm not gonna, normally I would do a border, but we're gonna have a white border, so I don't need to add a border.
And the same principles apply as you're doing the collage work. If you're not working with paint, you can do the same thing where you're adding darker patterns in your prints.
And if you have something that's very dark, the cool thing is you could add light on top of it, and if you're adding very light, you could add dark. And let me just, a quick example was in the other painting that I had. Here, there it is. Here, I'll show you a perfect example of that. I used tissue paper that was black, but I took a white marker, I don't know if you could see, and added white dots on top of that. Yes. And the other thing that you could do, which we did with last week's project, which I'll show you quickly, is when you're finished your project, you could add a gloss to it. And they came out so pretty. I surprised myself yesterday. I added it to my bookmark, I added gloss and words, and to the tile I added gloss, and to this. So all I used was, I believe it was a Liquitex gloss, medium, and varnish with a brush at the end. And I actually used my fingers on some of them, but it came out really pretty. So in the end, when you're finished these projects, you finish your card and you finish your canvas or watercolor paper, add that to KindHERGarden, because it'll really make everything stand up and add a lot of depth. Yeah, it adds a lot of depth. So just a little semi-pro tip. Yeah. I also have fluorescent paints here, which will be fun to add a little bit of color and brightness.
Yes.
So I'm thinking of doing that.
And I think on my card.
Back to the playfulness.
Yeah.
We even have our little lollipops here. Can you see that?
And I want to remind everybody, and Betsy, you weren't here last week, but being here live with us, you can expect to get a special little goodie package from us in the mail. And so I'll reach out to you and get your mailing address so we can send that.
Yes, we have a beautiful little package for you. I don't know where it is right now, but we do have that for you for watching and for participating today. And that goes for anybody else who comes live into our classes.
So as we get to a place of wrapping up, Gail and I, can you see me? There I am. Gail and I are going to continue to create, and we'll be posting our creations on the Creative Hearths and Healing Facebook page. That's probably where you found us. If it's not, you message us, email us, find us on Facebook, however it is. We're happy to answer any questions. We would love, love, love to see your creations. You're watching Gail finish up.
Oh, sorry, I don't know if you
Yes,
see it.
yeah, you can see her.
I'm just adding some touches, which I'll be adding way more to that, but I think I'm going to add some hair to her over here. And it doesn't have to be pretty hair. She has wild, crazy hair because she's having fun.
And she's playing in the garden like a child.
Exactly, exactly.
And we will be back here again next week, Tuesday at noon.
The only materials that you might want next week are if you have any photos, personal photos, or vintage items or anything that's important to you. And don't use the originals. Make copies of it. Go to an office place, you know, a Kinko's or an Office Depot or whatever might be in your neck of the woods, and have them make copies of your photos, or even fabric. If you have fabric that you'd like to use but you are afraid to put into your pieces, you're welcome to copy that. You can get great textures for your pieces that way, and have those ready for next week. because we'll be reflecting on memories, and the rest is all secret. It's until next week. We'll see you next week.
All right. So, oh wait, let's not say goodbye yet.
Not
Betsy,
yet.
Betsy, you have anything else you want to show us before we sign off?
Is Betsy there?
Betsy may have already signed off.
Okay.
So, let's see if we can we get both of us in the picture? Whoops. Say goodbye. There we are. There we are.
So happy you were able to join us. And whether you're watching this live or on video, keep creating.
Yes.
And take care of yourself.
Yes.
And release anything that doesn't serve you, anything that's hurtful to you, or any worries. Let go of those worries and go out in the sunshine or play in the snow and let it all go.
Ooh, that makes me think of snow angels. Want to see some snow angels from you Northerners. All right, bye for now. We will see you next week.
See you next week. Bye-bye.
I had a phone call.
There?
Yes, I'm here. I'm sorry.
Good.
Our picture is not live anymore. We logged off. We were looking
Oh, no,
for you.
actually, you know what? I think it is still recording because I haven't figured out how to get this other machine that's
Oh,
It is-
working.
it
We
says-
can't see anything, but you could
But,
see us.
We'd love to see what you created, Betsy.
So far,
But how are we going to see her?
It may still be picking up on the recording.
Oh, okay. So we won't see what you're showing us now, but we will see it when we
We
review
may
the
see
tape.
it on the recording, yeah. So I'm going to have some fun editing this one.
But Betsy, are you on the Creative Hearts site?
I don't know if I am or not.
Okay, well, we hope that you join us there. And if you like, feel free to post and feel free to share any thoughts on today's class and whether you'd like to join us again.
And you
Okay,
probably
thank you.
you probably didn't hear me say, if you were off on a call, that we have a surprise goodie bag to send you. So
Oh, you missed that part. No wonder she worked.
Yeah, I missed it.
Did you hear that part?
No.
Oh, because you're here live with us, we have a little goodie bag to send you, a creative
Cool.
goodie bag.
Yeah.
Yay.
Nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you too. It's Gail.
Yes,
Yes.
Gail. And come to the Creative Hearts page and share any suggestions or testimonials or nothing. Just come to visit.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Thank you so much. Love
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.
Bye.